Tonight, race for GFA presidency makes controversial turn as frontrunner and known close associate of former FA president Kwesi Nyantakyi is disqualified. We have reaction. Also, later on, as President Akufo-Addo prepares to clarify government's position on controversial comprehensive sexuality education, the minority is accusing his government of cultural and moral terrorism.
God forbid. As for this, we will resist it, because it will amount to some moral and cultural terrorism if it was to succeed.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion, also brought to you by Gasem Cement, the nation builder, Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready. In the last few hours, the GFA race for presidency has turned controversial with the decision to disqualify a known close associate of former FA President Kwesi Nyantakyi. And this is a decision that has been taken on the back of the vetting process launched as part of the process to normalize the FA. My colleague Gary Al Smith is in the studio with reactions and the latest on this. Gary, what do we know?
Yes, so about 2.5 hours ago, the Ghana Football Association put out a communique that said that of the 7 presidential hopefuls, Wilfred Osei-Kweku, aka Palmer, had not made it to the next stage of the process. And so they followed it up with a letter to him, that's to Mr. Osei-Kweku himself. And I'll read that letter to you. It's dated the 4th of October. And it says, decision of GFA Elections Committee. The Ghana Football Association Normalization Committee, acting as the Elections Committee, regrets to inform you that your application to contest for the position of president of the GFA was unsuccessful. This was as a result of the adverse findings against you, namely 1. Breach of Article 33(5)(c) of the GFA General Regulations. 2. Decision of the Ethics Committee dated the 13th December 2017. Should you wish to appeal this decision, kindly submit to the Elections Committee in writing, supported by any document you wish to bring to our attention, on or before Tuesday, the 8th of October 2019 at 4 p.m. Faithfully yours, Na Odufole Norte Elections Committee.
So they cite these articles. What are these articles? That you may have
essentially, in brief, they have to do with some regulations involving what you are supposed to do when a player transfer is effected, and some commissions you are supposed to pay, namely 10% to the Ghana Football Association's coffers. The argument is that he did not pay the statutory payments. He did not make these statutory payments.
As in a transfer happened, but
yes,
the payments were not made.
Were not made. So he has since written a statement quickly to react swiftly to this. If I
As in Mr. Palmer himself?
Yes.
Okay, I see.
Yes.
What's his position?
He also writes a statement October 4th. He says, I have received a decision from the GFA Normalization Committee acting as the Elections Committee with regard to my decision to contest as GFA president. The decision read in part that my application to contest as president of the FA was unsuccessful because of the following reasons. It states the 2. And it says that, first of all, I wish to thank the vetting committee and the normalization committee for the work done so far, and to tell all my loved ones to keep calm. I shall, in the coming days, file an appeal concerning the decision. To the best of my knowledge, I, Wilfred Kweku, did not commit any of the infractions stated above. Once again, let me assure all my loved ones, the football community, and the good people of Ghana to stay calm. Thank you. He signs it.
I see. In the FA's explanation, they seem to suggest that this is something, this has a historical thing to it. That this is something that had been established against him in the past.
In the past.
You're a close follower of football. You're par excellence. What do we know about that history?
Well, so it's important you ask this because in the past week, since last week Saturday, they've been going through the vetting, and part of the procedure we understand has been the what they call the integrity test and all that, to look through your records. And it must be pointed out that before every presidential aspirant put forward their nomination, they were supposed to bring a police report signed from the police to say that they have no criminal record. So all this is part of. So we are assuming that they went to check his record with the FA as well, and they found this as an adverse finding against him.
Oh, I see.
Yes, so that is it.
So they've dug up on him in terms of this might clearly it wasn't something that was reported in the media in terms of this fine against him in the past.
Oh, it was, but
It was, okay.
as it was, I mean, they are normal, as it were, normal football issues. So I'm sure it must have been reported on like the Joy Sports Center or something.
Okay.
It's not something so earth-shaking that it will be reported on Top Story.
Fair to describe
example.
him as an associate of the former president, Kwesi Nyantakyi?
All the three front runners in this GFA race were close associates of Kwesi Nyantakyi. Wilfred Osei Kweku Palmer, was a finance committee person. At various points was head of several management committees, key management committees. And
under Nyantakyi?
Yeah. I mean, they all came to prominence actually under the
Nyantakyi
administration. Don't forget that Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi was in power for 13 years. So these were people who came to prominence or grew in stature in that 13-year period. Wilfred Osei Kweku, I mean, being a businessman, a passionate football man, and also the bankroller of Tema Youth, And it's interesting that this decision has come because it was only 48 hours ago that he actually launched his policy statement, which is a fancy way of saying manifesto.
Yeah,
2 days ago at the Alisa Hotel. So his association with Mr. Nyantakyi is, to that extent.
And his team,
he of all the three front runners, or if you add Fred Papo, 4, was the one who fought by Mr. Nyantakyi's side to the very bitter end.
During his troubles.
Yeah, he was the one who fought with him, who was the most loyal, if you like, to the bitter end. And it is one key reason why he commands such a serious, and he's seen as a big contender when it comes to these GFA elections, because the football community know that to the extent that he's going to stand for the football administration and the people who do football in this country, he is one of the key men together with George Free.
His team was recently embroiled in some controversy when some members of his team were seen with Mr. Nyantakyi, and allegations were that they were attempting to campaign
on his behalf
at the Chiefs Palace, so to speak.
Right, so the story was 2 weeks ago, and we broke the story because I literally woke up one morning and somebody had sent me the video on my WhatsApp. So I looked at the video and I looked at the surroundings, the audio attached to it, and you knew immediately that this was what it was. But whoever had filmed the video had zeroed in on Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi at the place. So I made a few checks. I called their campaign team, but long story short, it was established that Mr. Nyantakyi and a couple of people were at the Doma Ahinkro Palace, which is where Nana Ajman-Bedu is the chief.
And a club owner himself.
Yes, a club owner of Aduana Stars, life patron, just like the Asante Hene is of Asante Kotoko. So Mr. Nyantakyi had gone there with a couple of people to be there, let's say. We don't know why to date. There's no official reason why Mr. Nyantakyi was there.
People were heard in the video screaming.
Yes, the people who took the video were preventing Mr. Nyantakyi from entering the palace to conduct whatever business they were in. And they were saying in Akan that they were not going to allow him to campaign because he has destroyed football, yada, yada, yada. And they were not going to campaign for, and then they mentioned his name, Mr. Wilfred Osei Kweku. Now, the interesting thing, or the clincher where a lot of people are concerned, is that the people who were with Mr. Nyantakyi, the two people, one was definitely a member of Mr. Osei Palmer's team. We confirmed from his team, and they said, yes, he was a representative of the campaign team in that side of the country, and so on and so forth. Now, that really, really damaged his standing, his image among the right-thinking members of society, because people felt like, and
amongst football people in particular.
Well, I can't speak for football people, but I do know what the general public were saying because of the reactions we got, that if indeed he was going to campaign on behalf of Mr. Osei Kweku Palmer, then a vote for Palmer would be a vote for a continuation of the Nyantakyi.
Otherwise, it's almost like a proxy for Nyantakyi.
A proxy for that. So that is, but his camp, the following Monday, they spoke to us again exclusively, and they said that was not the point. I mean, he was not going, Mr. Nyantakyi was not going there on their behalf. Some people who spoke for Mr. Nyantakyi said that, during his problems with the Anas video and all those things, one of his the people who really stood by him
Was
was the chief, and so he was using this opportunity to go and thank him and all that.
that's right.
But Mr. Palmer has suffered from being linked with Mr. Nyantichi. That is a fact.
Stay with me. I'll try
Sure.
and find out what this means for the campaign going forward. But let me quickly speak to a member of the Palmer's campaign team, Mr. Eboapia, campaign strategist, joins me on the telephone line right now. Mr. Apia, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you, Evans, and then good evening to your cherished listeners.
Tell me, so have you filed the petition yet? Because I understand that from the statement you issued that this is something you plan to do.
Yes, from the statement we issued, there are legal steps that are accrued to us, and we intend to sit down with our lawyers, and then we'll take the best possible decision for the campaign. But I want to take this opportunity to assure all our fans and our loved ones that Mr. Oseko Kufama is in good spirits. Mr. Oseko Kufama is not perturbed. This is not the first time he's been faced with such an issue. In 2015, when a similar thing came, he was the first person, even though he was an executive committee member of the Ghana Football Association at the time, and Kwesi Nyantakyi was in charge. It didn't deter him from taking that whole association to the Court of Arbitration for Sports in Lausanne, which he won. And for him, this is another case to test the law, to open way. He's a history maker and he's a leader. So for him, he's okay. He's very happy. And that's why we took the opportunity to thank the Normalization Committee. Our next steps will be with our legal team. And I'm sure by the coming days you'll hear concerning what our next steps are.
What do you say to those who would draw a link between him and Nyantakyi and say maybe that may be the source of his trouble?
Yeah, but that's why I told you that if you say, when Kwesi was in power, he took the whole term versus GFA to CAF. It's a statement without basis. People just want to smear him with Nyantakyi at all costs. In any case, he has not held any high position at the Ghana Football Association under President Nyantakyi, not even at the CAF level. There are other aspirants who have been appointed to higher positions than him. So why Palmer? This is people who want to smear him at all costs. So anything they want to say Palmer is involved, but he's not perturbed. None of us in the campaign team are perturbed. In fact, some of us, not him, some of us saw this coming. So we are ready for it.
And very finally, did he or did he not get himself involved in a transfer deal that didn't follow the rules?
In our response to them, we told them that we don't think that we broke any law.
You don't think, or you know for certain?
We know for certain that we did not break any law concerning that transfer. And that's why we send our appropriate.
So that transfer indeed happened? That
transfer happened.
And did you pay and do what you're supposed to do under the law once the transfer happened?
Under the law, what we know is required of us, we did it. The boy moved from Ghana to Hungary, and then from Hungary to Belgium. But I don't want to go into the details because our legal team will definitely come out with their appropriate response. When he went to vetting, he told them that these are my reasons. And Evans, I can assure you, in Ghana football, for the past 15 years, under no circumstances is a member written to by a private legal practitioner. And that happened in this case. But we don't want to go into the details. Our legal team will take the appropriate response, and in the coming days you'll hear from us. But for our cherished followers and our listeners, I just want you to understand that Mr. Oseko Kufama is in good spirits, is in high mood, he's not perturbed, he's not even rattled by what has happened. And if you look at the behavior of the Normalization Committee for the past 1 month, is that of provocation. We go to Congress. On the day of Congress, that is when they bring a document and none of us have seen. But because we just wanted them to go, we allowed that to go through. Then after that, after the Congress have approved the laws, on his own, Dr. Ofiamwa expounds something from the rules. That also we just allow him to go through. So if somebody, we just want him to go. And so we are taking it easy at this time. We are not moved, and we won't do anything to extend his mandate. We'll just take it easy and go through the due process of the law. And that is what Mr. Oseko for. He's a man of principle. He doesn't matter. Even when he was part of the association, he took them.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eboapia, the campaign strategist for Mr. Palmer, one of the front runners who's tonight been disqualified. As he heard there, they are in the process of challenging that particular decision. What does this mean for the race?
What this means for the race is that it is one short of, for those of us who follow it keenly, it's the race is shorn of some excitement and some gravitas, because he was a heavyweight. He is a heavyweight when it comes to the GFA elections, and I think that many people who were watching this keenly would have said that there was a triumvirate. There was a trifecta, if you like. Wilfred Osei-Kweku, Keto Kweku, George Afriyie. They were the top three, with Fred Papo slightly just below. I mean, he's a top contender, but people have largely said that because he has been out of action, when Kwesi Nyantakyi let him go as his vice president, Mr. Fred Papo concentrated more on his private job of being a consultant for international organizations and stayed out of football for a while. It is believed that he sort of lost touch, even though he has tried to say that is not the case. And he really did not want to be associated with the Nyantakyi administration, especially in the last 8 years. So you couldn't tie him with a lot of the things that happen in the Nyantakyi administration at all. So what this decision does is that it robs us of one of the 7 candidates. However, the statement, I'm sure, will be interesting to know that all the 6 others are still in the race. Have been cleared. And,
so he's the only casualty.
Yeah, he's the only casualty. And just as a reminder of who is there, we do have Amanda Clinton, who is known more for her work with Men's Gold, in the last few months as the representative for some of the aggrieved persons. George Ankoma Mensah, who was on Joy FM last week, Friday, first take. He's a lawyer. And he famously took Kwesi Nyantakyi on a couple of years ago when Mr. Nyantakyi went unopposed. Nana Yaw Amponsah, he's a club administrator. Kurt Okreku, former FA Cup committee boss. George Afriyie, former vice president, and Fred Papo as well.
Okay.
Yes.
One shot. Thank you very much, Gary.
And let me just say, we are going to have an extended discussion of
this is at
7 p.m. to 8:30. We are going to have the Parma team here to give us some insights as to, at the last part he was making some complaints. So please stay with myself.
It says provocation.
Yeah, he said the people are provoking them. Yes.
Stay right after Ghana Connect at 7. Join Gary and the team as they delve into this particular matter. Thank you very much, Gary. Another big story we are following for you this evening, more than a week after public anger and backlash, President Akufo-Addo will this weekend finally attempt to put the controversy surrounding the comprehensive sexuality education to bed. The president is scheduled to meet faith-based organizations in barely 24 hours, and according to the information minister, he will address fears that LGBTQ teachings will soon find expression in Ghana's schools. Now, the ministry says the president will bring clarity on government's position on the matter. The introduction of the CSE has been met with fierce resistance from parents, civil society, and religious leaders, insisting the introduction of the program is an affront to the country's values. Well, this afternoon, the minority in Parliament withered into the controversy, accusing the government of engaging in cultural and moral terrorism over its plan to introduce CSE. Though the Education Minister, Dr. Matupoko Prempeh, insists no firm decision has been taken, the minority argues that the inclusion of the CSE document in the 2019 budget goes without saying. The plans were really far advanced to get it in the curriculum. In fact, they claim the government has already signed agreements to get funding to deal with the backlash that is already being generated. Addressing the media here in Accra, minority leader alleged the government has assured its international partners of efforts to overcome the social resistance. Listen to him.
We are deeply concerned as a minority that whilst many countries in this contemporary time and age is focusing on the teaching of math science and artificial intelligence, matters of climate change and good governance, sexuality education is at the heart of the president's basic education curriculum. The choice of age is not only inappropriate, but threatening that the moral socialization of our children will be left to right morals unknown and unacceptable to us as a Ghanaian people. Evidence known and available to us indicate that it is being funded by a Swedish government which have so far committed 22 million United States dollars for the initiative. The Ghanaian government has already assured her international partners that they will do everything politically possible, I'm quoting, to overcome social resistance and operational constraints. God forbid. As for this, we will resist it because it will amount to some moral and cultural terrorism if it was to succeed.
Well, there are consensus about the attempt by government to deny. It says it muddies the water even further.
We are also aware that government and the UNFPA have entered into an agreement for the UNFPA to provide CSE technical support to the Ghana Education Service. Additionally, we are aware, so you can put it in contrast, it is not as if we are unaware, that they have signed a contract with CSCE Project Implementation Officer operating from the UNESCO Ghana office. The denial by the minister, therefore, is not only naked, but is inconsistent with the truth. Interestingly, the Minister for Education has quickly forgotten that in the 2019 budget statement presented to Parliament, the comprehensive sexuality education featured very prominently. So you cannot run away from this mess, is our message to the President and his ministers.
Well, that's Harun Idrisu there, and he says that there's an agenda by government and it's a betrayal of the trust reposed in the president to uphold social, religious, and cultural values of the people.
It is most shocking that a president who carries himself as a Lord Builder of the cathedral can engage in this incongruous behavior. In one breath, he's promoting lesbianism, homosexuality. At least we know where former presidents stand, the time-tested and respected values of the Ghanaian people on this matter. As I've indicated, we know where Professor J.E.A. Mills stood on this matter. Nana Addo Dankwa, come clear where you stand on this matter. In one breath, I'm building a cathedral. In another breath, you are promoting what the Bible, whether ancient or modern, will not accept in the books of the Lord. This incongruity, only you can explain the confused state to which you are leading the country on this matter. The hypocrisy of President Nana Addo Dankwa, who unlike his colleague African leaders have failed to take a firm and definite bold position on the LGBT question, is now crystal clear to the Ghanaian people. How you wish that if the cathedral was completed, it would be used to observe gay and lesbian practice as the home of the Church of God.
Well, let's interrogate some of the claims made by the minority today. On the telephone line with me right now is a ranking member, the minority spokesperson on education, Mr. Peter Nyochu. Mr. Nyochu, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Yeah, thank you, Evans. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. The Ministry of Education says you lack the moral authority to be making these pronouncements because in 2015 you signed a document that encourages comprehensive sexuality education.
Yeah, thank you very much and good evening. The document they are referring to was on adult sexual reproductive education. It is not on comprehensive education, sexuality education as we see it now. The contents in the two are quite different and different from each other. So if the minister or any other person is trying to introduce that into the system now, that the CSC was introduced in 2015, is incorrect. Because what was adult, the word adult, the operative word there is adult sexual reproductive education, whereby girls who are in junior high school and secondary school after a certain age can be taught how to take care of themselves when they start experiencing the menstrual cycle and how to avoid teenage pregnancies. That was the reproductive education that they were talking about.
But Mr. Nyochu, those two things you mentioned are the same issues of emphasis in the document that you're currently opposing.
Yeah, they are different. Because
In
in
what
the
sense?
new document, you will see how the child is given the right. You read a number of things where what the pleasure of sex is the right of the child. The child can decide for him or herself, even if it is necessary to change gender, they can do so. So a number of things that are there, demonstration of how to use condom. In fact, they are very, very abhorrent. So that is why we are saying that, and other, not only minority, all other well-meaning Ghanaians, we are joining them to say that we don't want that for our children in this country.
The education minister has been absolutely emphatic that what you're posing hasn't been approved, and it's not something that they intend to do, at least in the short term. Why are you still pushing this?
Yeah, I chanced on a letter that was written by the Ghana Education Service headquarters and signed by the Deputy Director General, inviting teachers, selected teachers to Kumasi last week in the last week from 26th to 30th August, where they went to train them this comprehensive sexuality education with sponsorship from UNICEF and Canada. So what are they saying? If you have already trained teachers to go and train others, and now you are denying it that there's nothing like that, who do we believe? You see the point? So they should just tell us that, fine, we had the program in place, but once Ghanaians have a kick against it, then they will go back. They will not proceed with it. I think that would have even settled the matter. But denying categorically where you have already taken steps to train teachers for the program, whom are you deceiving? Are you deceiving Ghanaians or who? So that's the situation. It is there. They have started the training program. And I know that 5 persons were taken, or 5 facilitators were taken from every district to do that.
Yeah,
in at least 7 regions. Yeah.
Parliament resumes soon. We understand the president will, this weekend, meet faith-based institutions and state and clarify government position on this. From your end, is this something you plan to do once Parliament resumes on this?
Events will determine what action we can take as soon as Parliament resumes this month. But our position critically is that once the minister said they have suspended the action on that or withdrawn it, then we want to see a new curriculum in which this CSE will not feature at all.
Okay.
So that Ghanaians can know that, yes, they have listened to them and they will not introduce it at any later stage in the country.
I'm grateful. That is Peter Notu. He's a minority spokesperson on education, and this is Top Story. We want to stay with him because in 2 minutes we will cross over to Ghana Connect, where we were going to be connecting with children, their parents, teachers, school officials, both here in Ghana and abroad, and we'll be connecting to countries where comprehensive sexuality education, one, has been introduced and is working, and countries where they had attempted to introduce it and there had been resistance, government had been forced to withdraw it, Canada, UK, and other countries on the continent. You want to stay with us for that as we do a really comprehensive discussion on this from the perspective of those who maybe are the receiving end of the education, if this is indeed part of something that was planned to be introduced. Stay with us here on Joy 99.7 FM.